Starring Bela Day in
But Ma, that's my favorite movie. Oh, well, all right. But don't you spend too much time in front of that TV, do you hear me? Yes, Ma. Happy Christmas Eve, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. But Ma, that's my favorite movie. I am your host, Bela Day. And before we go any further, I have to thank my listeners. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for giving this podcast a chance over and over again. And you're a real one, period. And if you're a new listener, well, then welcome and hello. And you are definitely in for a treat, which will hopefully keep you coming back for more. All right, today's episode is titled, But Ma, That's My Favorite Christmas Movie. So it's pretty obvious we're going to be discussing Christmas movies, which is totally appropriate because tomorrow is Christmas. Pause for a moment. Tomorrow's Christmas. So we're going to be just going over two different Christmas movies, and we're pretty much going to get right into it. All right, so lights, camera, action. You're skipping Christmas? Isn't that against the law? All right, that quote is by Spike Fromeyer. And the first movie we're going to be talking about is Christmas with the Kranks. And Spike, the actor's real name is actually Eric Per Sullivan. Okay, so this is a very funny movie. It's a comedic movie. It was released November 24th of 2004. It was directed by Joe Roth, who also directed Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise. And he was also a producer for some notable films that were The Great Debaters, Daddy Daycare, and Low Down Dirty Shame, which I found it very interesting because I consider those more of like black films, you know? And so the fact that he's done that, I'm like, that's super cool. All right. The writers we have John Grisham, who actually is the novelist, the writer. He actually wrote a book titled Skipping Christmas. And so this movie is based on that, but the title was changed, and we'll get into that later. Then the actual writer of the screenplay is Chris Columbus, who actually wrote for the movie 9 Months. And so I have another person or actor who was in 9 Months as well. I feel like I have two different ones. So I think that's interesting. All right, let's get into this summary here. So Luther, played by Tim Allen, and Nora, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, are the Kranks. And for the first time on this holiday, Christmas, their daughter Blair Krank, who's played by Julie Gonzalo, won't be home for Christmas because she's actually at the Peace Corps. So the Kranks have always been super festive people who go all out for the holiday. And they do things like decorating the house inside and out, buying Christmas cards, sending them out, throwing the annual Christmas Eve party for like all of the neighbors to attend, and just doing various other things. They're just all about Christmas, right? And Nora is sad that Blair won't be spending Christmas with the family. But Luther, on the other hand, he's not sad at all because he has other plans, which include going on a 10-day cruise, which they would actually leave the port on Christmas. And he comes up with this whole plan to explain to his wife that they're actually going to save money going on this cruise versus what they would be spending normally on around Christmas to like decorate food, getting the Christmas cards, all of that. They spend way more money on Christmas than they would be on this cruise that they want to go on. Because it's like all inclusive and it's cheaper because they're leaving on Christmas, and they know normally people don't leave on holidays like this. So it's just a really great deal. So Luther's obstacle is like convincing Nora, giving her all this information, which she's super prepared for. And, who's not willing to save money if you can? And he just really needs to get Nora on board. And at first she is hesitant. Hello, everyone. This is Bila Day. Sorry to interrupt this episode, but I just wanted to let you know that you were only listening to a preview. So if you would like to listen to the rest of this episode, then you can definitely go to the website, butma.that'smyfavoritemovie.com, or you can go directly to any of these platforms for the full episode. We are available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Castbox. Please don't hesitate to follow the podcast on any of those platforms so that you can be notified anytime a new episode is available. If you didn't know, our primary release day is every Thursday, but be on the lookout for bonus content as well. Now, if you've listened to the But Ma, That's My Favorite Movie podcast before, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. So if you have a friend that loves movies like we do, then definitely go ahead and share this podcast with them. And if you're a new listener and you do end up enjoying the podcast, well, then you go ahead and share with a friend too. Also, don't forget to like any of our social media pages so that you can also get updates and regular information about the podcast and about any of the episodes that are coming up. The social media sites that we have a presence on are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also, if you want to leave a review, whether constructive or positive, we'd appreciate that too. All right, go ahead and get over to one of the other platforms so we can finish getting into the rest of these movies.